Our girl is destitute.
What conspiracy theory do you have?
You're the Feyre.
I'm Feyre. He hates Tamlin. He's also a bit of a petty bitch.
And yet, she decides, let me just shoot my shot and see it. I'm like, girl.
Hello.
Hello. We're here.
We're here.
Oh my God. This has
Yay.
been so hard. It's been so hard, everyone, to not tell you guys. Like,
Oh my God. I'm so glad we finally made it to chapter 32.
it's been a journey.
It has been a fucking journey.
But
Oy.
man, we're getting close. Not everything about I mean, you guys know we have a spoiler and a non-spoiler section, so not everything gets spoiled, but there's been a few things in the ACOTAR series that in particular we don't want to spoil for you guys.
Yeah.
And this is, I would say, the second biggest one.
Yeah. I mean, for this book, I think in most really good books now at this point, there's some kind of plot twist or some kind of, right? Like, I feel like that's just very normal. This, and like, to finally get to this curse so we can finally talk about what the blight actually is and like all of this stuff. It's so nice to be here. And like, what a fucking info dump this chapter is. Ariel and I were both comparing notes, and we like both said that we basically just highlighted like this entire chapter. Because like in reality in this chapter, Alice is just like walking around like putting shit in a bag. Like that's what this happens like in this entire chapter. And she's just spitting facts this entire time. Like, this is so wild. I'm so glad we're finally here. This also means, I think, like, you can officially tell that we've reached the third act of the book, right? This is the switch. But wow. So glad to be here.
As someone who is a terrible liar, like I'm like well known amongst my family and friends, like I'm a terrible liar.
Yeah.
It has been, I mean, I think our first ever spoiler episode, I think we said something like, we're going to have to do some Oscar-worthy acting for the spoiler-free episodes.
Yeah.
And hopefully we did.
Yeah. And hopefully, you don't feel too deceived. Because a lot of our mission was to try to read this with like a first reader mind cap on, and it is really wild how there are a lot of hints, but you really can only see them until you know. Like, there's not a world where I think many people could have guessed. I think you could have guessed maybe that there was some, like, especially if you're comparing with Beauty and the Beast, I think you could have done some like curse comparison maybe if you already know that. But like, other than that, like, I don't know how you would have guessed this in the beginning.
I think we did it a little bit in the spoiler-free chapters, but we definitely did it in the spoiler episodes where we gave Tamlin and Lucien quite a bit of shit for like when they would say things like, Feyre, why aren't you reading between the lines? And it's like, how the fuck is she supposed to? Like, now that y'all know what it is, how would she ever guess this?
Well, I mean, and honestly, I would argue even I find Alice a little annoying in this chapter too, because she because she kind of gets on Feyre pretty hard, and I'm just like, you literally say yourself in this chapter, no one could have told her. So like, how is Feyre? Okay, we're getting really far ahead of ourselves. I feel like we should do our Cauldron Save Me before
All right, so my Cauldron Save Me is very quick. There's a couple. One, my family came to town. My parents came to town this week, so got to see them. Super fun. Had a great time. My second is I'm not going to say what, but for those who have read Throne of Glass, my lovely husband David is currently reading them. He just finished Crown of Midnight, so I can finally talk to him about one really big thing, which has been really hard. Kind of like this. Like, I've had to kind of not lie. I don't think I technically lied to him.
Yeah.
But really be clever with I had to embody my inner Fae
Yeah.
and word things very cleverly
Word
to
things
him.
very particularly. Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So,
Yay.
it's a big relief now that I can talk to him about, and also, like, him and I, we love theorizing, like, I don't know if I mentioned this on the podcast, but, sort of how we met, one of the big factors in us meeting is we're both fans of the show Lost, which if you've ever seen that show, like, that's what kind of started the whole, like, theorizing frenzy and, like, pop culture, and so I can finally talk to him about certain theories that I have not been able to, and it's been killing me. So, yeah, just very happy.
Well, again, if you guys have been listening along this whole season, you'll remember correctly. In the beginning of the season, Ariel and David were doing a Lost rewatch.
Yes. Yes. That's right. I did talk about that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So,
Yay. But yay.
yeah.
I'm glad that makes things in the household a little bit easier. As someone who has now gone through this 3 times
Yeah.
with friends and family who have read these books, it's quite a fucking journey. Yeah,
Being
so huzzah.
a huzzah, being a mass first Sherpa, I suppose. Because that is kind of what it's like. You're kind of having to, like, a Sherpa, a doula, like, you're kind of having to, like, shepherd
Yes.
your loved ones
Yep.
through these series.
Yeah.
It's not easy because, as you all know now, and you'll continue to find out, this woman loves a twist and
Yeah.
loves to play with unreliable narration, I guess we
Yeah.
could call it. So it's hard when you know all the answers and you're like, I can't fucking tell you. And as we've established, I'm terrible with spoilers.
Well, yeah,
So
yeah, and it's really hard when the other people really wanna theorize about stuff after they've finished
oh my
books, and
god.
they wanna theorize about certain things, and you can't even, you kinda just have to, "Uh-huh." Like, you can't say anything because
Oh,
you're coming from, yeah, so
I've
it's
literally had
pretty,
to tell David, like, either don't, like, if you're gonna theorize, don't look at my face, or I have had to turn away because my face will give it away. I'll just be like,
yeah.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, guys, this is why if I'm reading something that Ariel has already read, I, don't talk to her because I'm just
Yeah.
like, I don't even wanna, I'm not gonna put you through it. I'm not gonna put
Yeah.
myself through it. Like, let's just not do it. We'll
Yeah.
talk at the end. We'll get there. But yay. My cauldron save me is just, please, dear, sweet, holy mother cauldron. I have had the most annoying tire issues in the last, well, going on longer than I care to admit because I'm poor and I couldn't get
Yeah.
new tires. But I did. I finally got new tires, and then at the end of that day, one of the tires was completely flat, and so I've now had to go to this one shop like 2 times in the span of a week, which is just so frustrating. Dealt with that this morning. Everyone, please cross your fingers for me that it actually was fixed. So,
Praying to the
holy
mother.
mother, holy
Yeah.
cauldron, please save me. I don't want to go back because I need the car. I have to drive down to Mountain View tomorrow. Like, please, dear God.
Oh
Um,
god, yeah.
yeah. So it's been a bit of a journey over here. But it's okay. It's what a great thing I get to complain about my
I know,
car.
right?
I'm very lucky to have a car. So I'm just gonna keep with the positivity. But that's my cauldron. That's my cauldron. Save
Hey,
me.
look, our cauldron save me's are both for good things and not as great things.
I know.
So
It's I
just
just
throw
think
everything in that cauldron.
I'm just trying to laugh at it now because it's just
I know.
it's just so ridiculous. But yeah, that's where I'm at. But yeah, okay. So chapter 32, right? So we leave, right? We left Feyre where she was in the mortal realms. She finds out that Claire Better's family has been killed. Basically, they can't find Claire's body.
Yeah.
And Feyre knows that's because she gave Rhysand Claire's name as her own.
Yep.
And so immediately Feyre's like, fuck, something is wrong. So she goes back to check on her baby boy. Baby boy's not there.
And the spring court is in tatters.
Tatters.
Yeah, it's rough and it really only gets rougher in this chapter.
Bro.
I mean, first off, she starts tracking blood.
Yeah.
So, I mean, my little horror brain
Yeah.
immediately kicks into gear and I'm like, "Oh, this has gone from like a sweet romantasy to just utter horror."
Horror film. Yes.
No one is there
No
at
one's there.
first,
Mhm.
and then she does hear someone, and thank the Cauldron,
I
it's
know.
Alice,
I know.
right? Because that could have been really fucking bad if you think about
Bro,
it.
that's a very good point. I hadn't even thought about that. But yeah, like if any of, because we, right, if you're with us, you've already read this whole chapter. So it's like it could have been one of Amarantha's people. Maybe Rhysand is there waiting for
Right.
her. Like we don't know. So yeah, that's a very scary moment. And it's, thank God it's Alice. It's also a little confusing. Like, she says that she sees blood, but then there's no blood in the dining room. And she
Yeah.
even says, like, as if Tamlin and Lucien had been sitting in here as the attack happened. So, like, are we supposed to think the blood are like his servant's blood or like his
I
scouts?
think
Like, whose blood are we supposed to think
yeah.
this is?
I'm more inclined to think like once you've read through the full chapter, I think it might have been servants,
Okay, yeah.
or like guards or something.
Yeah.
Maybe some from Tamlin and Lucian. I mean, we know at least Tamlin is somewhat he's alive, right? Because
Yes.
Alice does tell him or tell her that Amarantha took
Yeah.
him back, Jesus
Yeah.
Christ, took him back
Yeah.
to under the mountain, right?
Yeah.
Which we know what mountain she's referencing because just as a reminder, in I forgot which chapter it was, but it was when Feyre was in Tamlin's study and she saw that big map of
Mhm.
Prythian. She
Mhm.
sees this mountain, which at one point in this chapter is mentioned as sort of kind of like this like sacred mountain,
Yeah.
which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah.
Um, so we know that's the mountain that Alice is talking about. But what's I think I mean, if not more, at least as important is when she asks Alice, where is everyone? Where is Tamlin? Alice says, "You want the truth, girl? And here it is. She took him for the curse because the 7 times 7 years were over and he hadn't shattered her curse. She summoned all the high lords to her court this time to make them watch her break him." So there's a curse.
Yeah.
And when Feyre is like, "What the fuck curse are you talking about? What about the blight?" Alice tells her there is no blight.
No.
Like, it's a curse, which
It's just
I don't
Amarantha.
it's
Amarantha
just
is the
Amarantha.
blight. All these shitty
Yes.
things that have been going on is all Amarantha. These
Yes.
attacks, these she's the one who sent that beautiful chapter of our blue sweet fairy with the wings.
Yeah.
That was Amarantha who just dumped him over the border to taunt Tamlin,
Yeah.
basically. Like,
Yeah.
so it's the bog coming through, the all of these creatures that have just kind of been coming in and out. We basically learn it's Amarantha.
Yeah. And I think, I was kind of trying to think back to when I first read this, and
Yeah.
I was like, what was I feeling at the time? And I remember having this like kind of light bulb moment of like,
Yeah.
oh, so much makes more sense now
Yeah.
because like and I think we've talked about it when I first read, when Tamlin tells her, "Oh, there's a blight," right? I'm thinking, like whenever I've heard about blights
Yeah.
just in history, it's usually in reference to like crops failing, right?
Right.
Or like a sickness.
Like a
And
plague, kind of.
like a plague.
Yeah.
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 And none of this is like a
No.
sickness. So that made a shit ton more sense.
Yes.
We also get an official title for Amarantha, and she is the High Queen of Prythian, which is big, big news
Ugh.
because, and Feyre even confirms this, like, 7 high lords are supposed to rule Prythian equally.
Yeah.
She says there's no high queen, and Alice tells her that's how it used to be, how it's always been until 100 years when she appeared in these lands as an emissary for Hybern, from
Yep.
Hybern, and for the king of Hybern.
Yeah.
So we now officially know Amarantha is connected to the king of Hybern. He sent her off. This is like 400 years after the big war, which, as a reminder, that war was primarily over slavery, right?
Yeah.
The enslavement of human people. And I think, we kind of talked about this before coming on. We're not gonna so much quote a ton of stuff. We're just gonna
No.
kind of like give you guys a summary because you've also read the chapter at this
Yeah.
point, so you know. So we might go a little quick here because it is it's a dense chapter.
It's very dense. It's very dense. Well, and I think what's interesting too is we basically realize that the story that the serial starts telling Feyre about
Yeah.
this great deceiver, right? That story that the serial starts and gets interrupted is about Amarantha. So what's really
Yes.
funny is when Feyre asks about the blight, the serial starts telling a story about Amarantha.
Yeah.
So the serial is actually eventually going to get there.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny because we have all these annoying, like, we feel very annoyed with the serial because there's a lot of this, like, we love the serial, but there's also all these, like, I'm not gonna be fully upfront, like, I think we even made a joke in the spoiler episode for that episode of just like, really, if the serial was just more succinct, we would have
Yes.
gotten there a lot earlier. The serial was a
Well,
little less like Corryn and Ariel.
yeah. I was gonna say that's why I think we love the serial so much. Is like
The serial just
she
loves
really is
detail.
us. Yeah.
She gives the deets. She gives it all. She wants you to have all the feelings. So
She's gonna
so
take
we
you on a
realize
journey.
that, yeah, exactly. So we realize that the serial, we start getting a lot of this story from the serial. Basically, after the war, Amarantha comes back to try to pretty much create treaties and
Yes.
like
Trade.
trade routes and all this stuff, and kind of like schmoozing all the courts and
Yeah.
really trying to like bring every back in and kind of saying that she has changed from the war, because then we
Yes.
get this whole background
Oh boy.
about her, how during the war
This story.
this
This story.
story about her sister,
Okay,
like,
let's break it down
okay,
because
so
it's wildly important. And one thing I do want to say without spoiling new readers, this is a very important story to the entire series. So it's really like you will get reminders of it throughout the series, but the more you can remember on your own, the better because like it's important. So we find out Amarantha had, I believe, a little sister named
yeah,
Clythia.
yeah,
And Clythia fought for Hybern, obviously. So meaning she fought against the humans. She was pro-slavery.
right,
So we also don't really like Clythia. Ironically, she falls in love with a human. And
yeah,
his name is Jurian. And
yeah,
he was a commander in the human army. Because as a reminder, there were human armies. And the human armies did team up with other Fae. Not Hybern, but there were other Fae. And this is why I often compare it to the American Civil War, right? Like I think of like the humans and the Fae that are on the side of the humans as like the Northerners, and
yeah,
then Hybern and the Fae fighting with Hybern as like the Southerners, right? So Clythia falls in love with Jurian, who's this human commander. Amarantha is suspicious
yeah,
of Jurian
yeah,
and tries to tell Clythia, you should not trust Jurian. But Clythia doesn't listen because, love is fucking blind, right? And Amarantha basically can't bring herself to kill Jurian because it would cause her sister pain. So she very clearly loves her sister enough, right? To be like, okay, like I'm not going to kill your guy, even though I'm suspicious of him. Well, lo and behold,
yeah,
Jurian betrays Clythia. And on page 279, Alice says, he tortured and butchered her, crucifying her with ash wood so she couldn't move while he did it. He left the pieces for Amarantha to find. So it's like brutal
yeah,
the way that he tortures her.
yeah.
You know, we're obviously anti-slavery. Jurian is he could have been a little bit nicer in the way he did
There's
it.
not a good character in this story. Like, in
No.
this between, like, this very specific sad sister love story situation, there's not a good character here, like, at
Right.
all. Like, it is like Clythia and Amarantha, because even like before a lot of that, they give how this thing of like Amarantha is Hybern's like most ferocious like general. Like she
Yeah.
is lethal. And it says that Clythia is like right there with her,
Yeah.
just as vicious, just as intense. And then you think maybe the human's gonna be this like the good guy of the story. No, he basically like crucifies her, pretty
Yeah.
much.
Well, and it just makes everything worse too.
Yeah, and it just enrages Amarantha to a point that like Alice can't even fully like describe how bad it is. And there's some kind of confrontation between Amarantha and Jurian that is horrific. And it's a level Amarantha has a level of hatred. Like when the treaty is finally signed, Amarantha, instead of freeing her slaves, she
Oh,
kills them all.
yeah. That was so rough.
Yeah.
And like it's very glossed
It
over,
is like
mind
when
you.
I read like it's just this very simple sentence and you're like,
Yeah.
this is terrifying. So that is the sort of like
Backstory to the backstory.
almost like extra villain origin story of Amarantha. Like
Yeah.
she's already pretty evil.
Yeah.
Clearly. Like there's a level of, I think we're already kind of feeling like Hybern sort of this like big bad, and then Amarantha is kind of like the embodiment extra almost of that bad. And so
Yes.
that's kind of the like backstory, right?
Right.
And then gone for 400 years,
I
comes
mean,
back.
well, and real quick, I think this is a really good example of how much of a long game Faye can play
Bro,
because of how long they live, right?
so
She waits
long.
her and
Hybern.
Hybern, because even
Yeah.
though like she does kind of betray Hybern,
Yeah.
he's the one who sends her, right?
Yeah.
They wait this shit out
Yeah.
400 years.
Yeah.
Like I mean that is inconceivable, I think, to humans.
Absolutely. Well, and that's what's so crazy is like while Alice is telling the story, Alice is having to jump around in like centuries, basically.
Yeah.
Right? Because
Yeah.
let me just lay it out. Where we are in the time of Feyre,
Yeah.
the war was 500 years ago.
Yes.
Okay. 100 years ago, Amarantha comes back to Prythian,
Yeah.
right? To try to open up trade routes again,
Yes.
to try to kind of win over the lords of Prythian because the last time everyone saw her, she was ripping apart humans because of what they did to her sister, right?
Yeah.
So she comes back, she's trying to convince everyone that she's better, she's been changed, and she's doing all this stuff. She does that in Prythian for 50 years.
Yes.
Okay? So this goes
Half
along
a
with what
century.
so this goes along with what Ariel's saying. So like at this point, this is this is
Four
like
and a half
a
centuries long.
4.5 century long
game.
game at this
And
point.
what's crazy, and I think this is why her nickname is the Deceiver, is she's not only conning the High Lords of Prythian, she's conning Hybern
She's
too.
conning Hybern. So Alice also informs us that while this trade route agreements and all these things are happening, and Amarantha is bringing ships from Hybern, right, with goods, she's also sneaking soldiers in.
Yeah.
Okay,
Which is wild.
Which is
Like, I
wild.
hate to say it.
Really clever.
She kind of, I think she girl bossed too close to the sun. You
She
know what I
girl
mean? like,
honestly, if Amarantha wasn't so evil, I'd be like,
oh,
go off, queen.
she'd be
Get
running
it.
this shit like
Get
crazy.
it.
I mean, she kind of is, but like in a good way. Like
It really, like, if you really pull back, it is wildly impressive what she
Yeah.
manages to pull off. Because, well, okay, I guess I had one little question. When she's bringing over the soldiers,
yeah,
in that sense, she was still with Hybern, right? Because, like, I'm assuming that was
believe
part of
so.
Hybern's plan to, like,
Oh.
slowly, you know what I mean? Like, when she
I
was
don't know if the
sneaking the
soldiers
soldiers
were.
in, like, was
I
that a part of his plan, or was that when she was starting to do the deceiving?
I took it as that's when she starts to do the deceiving. I don't
Okay.
think Hybern, it's a little murky And honestly, I don't know how much it matters because either way, soldiers got there. They either were already on her side or turned to her side,
Yeah.
and that's how she was able to take over, right?
Yeah.
Like, and also, she had, like we talked about earlier, she like wined and dined these high lords, so they began to really trust her.
Yeah. And then she has them all come to this because another thing that Alice says was that she like it's like on 280, she says, Alice says, referring to Amarantha, she knew that even with her personal army, she could never conquer the seven high lords by numbers or power alone. But she
Yeah.
was also cunning and cruel, and she waited until they absolutely trusted her, until they gathered at a ball in her honor. And that night she slipped a potion stolen from the King of Hybern's unholy spellbook into their wine. And basically, once they all drank this wine, they were prone, their magic laid bare, and she stole their magic.
So, you just got to my directing moment.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, and I'm going to be very brief about this because like this is a chunky chapter.
Mhm.
So, the way I would want to do this, and I think I talked about doing a similar technique in a previous chapter, and I'm totally blanking which chapter it was, but oh, it was the map chapter. That's what the chapter was.
Ooh. Ooh.
Yes.
Ooh. Yeah.
So
Ooh.
we're gonna go from live action to a little bit of like not even animated. So the way I'm picturing it, this is gonna be like a very specific reference. So bear with me. If you've seen the trailer, I can't remember if it's in the movie. I know it was for sure in the trailer of the new Candyman movie, the Nia DaCosta version. There was this great trailer because, like, if you don't know, Candyman's a great horror movie about this legend, basically, of this guy named Candyman. And this trailer is talking about like how the Candyman became the Candyman, and it involves this unfortunately this black man getting lynched, right? And in the trailer, it's so clever. It's like a shadow puppet show that she shows. And it's like really fucking creepy too. Even though it looks like little kid like shadow puppets. And I would want to do something very similar. Like maybe not
Mm.
necessarily shadow puppets, although I think that would be kind of dope, but I think to show this particular part, not the whole story that Alice is telling, but this specific scene of the ball and like everyone getting poisoned and then, getting their magic taken away. I think it'd be so cool to do something like that because it feels like very like ye olden times,
Yeah.
like medieval kind of stuff, which is like sort of the vibe of Akatar.
Yeah.
So I think I would do something like that where we cut away from live action to like a shadow puppet show or puppet show of some kind,
Very cool. Very,
right?
very, very cool. That's really cool. And what's funny is I actually don't have a sound moment for this chapter
Right.
just because it's just like such an info dump.
Yeah.
But what's funny is, as always, when Ariel's talking about her director moment, I'm like sound designing it in my head.
Yeah.
And I think I don't know, the possibilities that you could do with that from a sound perspective would be very cool. Or like whatever your composer could compose for that
Oh,
moment, or because you wouldn't really want to like you wouldn't want to like hear Amarantha say anything like right? It would be all this kind of like so I don't know, there's
I think
something
Alice would be narrating it,
Alice would be
honestly.
narrating it, right, yeah.
And you
That
could
would
have like cool, I feel like fantastical kind of sounds where we go into a
exactly.
bit of a like, I mean, we are in a fantasy world, but more of a fantasy world of like, I feel like it'd be kind of creepy to almost make it childlike, like
Yeah.
literally like a
N
child's puppet show.
Yeah, yeah. Well, because I mean, there's definitely this weird comparison of I feel like Amarantha is just like she kind of feels like this like spoiled brat who just wants more,
Oh yeah.
you know? So
Yeah.
I feel like there's definitely some kind of thing you could kind of play around with that as well.
Yeah.
But ooh, I love that Ariel.
Thank
that's very
you.
visceral too. Like it's very uncomfortable, which
Right? I mean, this whole chapter is uncomfortable, especially because, like, at this point in the chapter, we're going from like learning about kind of the broader history of Amarantha to the more specific history and what she has to do with Tamlin, right? So on that same page 280, Alice says, after she talks about everyone's magic getting taken away, specifically the High Lords, right?
yeah.
It's their magic, because we know like their power is like very pure power.
Yeah.
So when she takes that from them, it's like, I mean, she says she leaves them only with their the basis elements of their magic. And then she says, "You're Tamlin. What you saw of him were the shades of what he used to be, the power that he used to command. And with the High Lord's power so greatly decreased, Amarantha wrested control of Prythian from them in a matter of days. For 49 years, we have been her slaves. For 49 years, she's been biding her time, waiting for the right moment to break the treaty and take your lands, the human lands, in all human territories beyond it." So that is her end game. Like, she has this vendetta against the humans because a human tortured and killed her sister, right?
Yep.
And, you know, let's not forget, like, if we think about, and I don't know if Sarah J. Maas really goes into this, but like, if we're comparing this to like real history, I'm going to assume that a large chunk of Hybern's economy
Yeah.
relied on slave labor,
Yeah.
right? And also, especially, let's not forget, just as a quick reminder for everyone, Hybern is an island off of Prythian, which Prythian is kind of also like this big island. Like, if you look at the map, if you have a physical copy of the book, it shows you a map. It's very comparable to the UK and
Mhm.
Ireland, right? So Hybern's much smaller than the rest of Prythian and the human lands. So that means everything, I would think, has to kind of be imported or
Well, and
exported.
didn't he get pushed off? Like, didn't he get forced to go over there? Like
Hybern?
King
Oh, you might be
Hybern?
right.
Wasn't
Yeah,
he like, he was, like, sequestered, like, he
I
was
think so.
taken away, like, he was put away because basically it was, a lot of these the North, as we can call them,
Yeah.
like, against King
Yes.
Hybern, and, like, that's why the section on the continent that the Fae have is
Yeah.
called Hybern, right?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, well, because there's the this is getting a bit in the weeds. There's the actual continent, which we have not seen,
Yes, and then
which I
there's, like,
believe is all human. Then there's
a
Prythian slash the human, a little bit of the human lands, and then there's Hybern, which is even tinier. So yeah, and I mean, I think the assumption is, because I don't think it's ever explicitly said, the reason they sequester him is because he's like the most pro slavery
right,
out of everyone. So
right.
he kind of becomes this pariah. I mean, rightfully so.
Yeah.
Um, but and this is not at all taking sides with him. I don't even want to call it a devil's advocate, but like, there, I mean, and we find this out in this chapter, there are other high lords and just fae in general who also sided
Yeah.
with him and
Yeah.
slavery,
Yeah.
who get to stay in Prythian,
Yeah.
one of which is Tamlin's dad,
Yeah. Yeah.
which got some feelings about
Yeah,
that.
so this, like, because basically we learn that Amarantha and Tamlin have known each other for, like, quite some time
Yeah,
because Tamlin would go on trips with his dad to Hybern.
which we need to talk about this, because I mean, I've always been disturbed by this story. But what I had forgotten, and I think disturbs me in some ways the most, is Tamlin was a child when he met Amarantha,
Yeah.
and she wasn't. She'd already gone through the war.
Yeah.
So this is some pedophilia shit.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Because the thing is, like, yes, she doesn't try to bed him until he's an adult. Sure. But I don't know. It's
It's no,
so creepy that
it's
she met him as a kid.
it it's really creepy. It's
Oh.
very creepy.
And it's
Um,
intentionally made that way,
oh,
obviously. We're
yeah.
not supposed to like
No.
Amarantha.
No. No. I mean, it's like this chapter, like, the the more you dig into the weeds of, like, Amarantha, because I really feel like this chapter is like, "Amarantha story time," like, this is our, like, history of her pretty much. The
Yeah.
more we're digging into who she is, just the more horrific it gets. And, like, kind of like Ariel and I said a little bit earlier, there is a slight element of, like, pure satisfaction that our big bad in this book is a female. Like, I'm just kind of like,
Yes.
yeah, like, I don't know, it's fun. I really like having, like, a really evil lady. Like, I'm really into it, I gotta say.
It's giving, I support women's rights and wrongs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Except I don't support like, full
Well, no, well,
disclosure, don't support Amarantha.
no, but I think something that I've seen some other people talk about is that when we talk about how, like, we want more women, like, characters in certain things, we mean good and bad. Like, we
Yeah,
mean both. And so
truly.
I love that Sarah takes this opportunity to just be like, "No, no, this is gonna be a final battle between, like, 2 women." You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
basically now we know that, Feyre's sort of big evil that she's gonna have to deal with is this terrifying woman. And
yep,
also, like, there's this element too of this is a woman who was this very scary king's most lethal general. She was a general.
yeah,
Like, so there's some stuff here that you're kind of like, okay, this is pretty badass. This is terrifying. She is awful, but this is
yeah.
kind of cool. But no, it's when you realize the Tamlin thing that she has known him since he was a child. It's, it's very gross.
Well, and I think going to your point of, like, it is exciting that it's a woman big bad because I think, what can often happen,
Mm, mhm,
both because I'm gonna say, both the toxic patriarchy, right? And feminism sometimes is we just have this assumption in our culture that women are passive and can do no wrong. And
yeah,
that's not true.
yeah,
Like that just simply isn't true.
yeah,
Doesn't mean we're going to doesn't mean we're actually going to support women's wrongs, right?
yeah,
Like especially when it involves slavery and pedophilia and things like that. It's more of a we like if we're going to be honest and like recognize real evil in this world, which Amarantha is very real evil, we need to recognize women can be evil too,
yeah.
right? And I think that is what's exciting about her having this female villain, right?
Yeah,
Is like, and it's not in a like he's we at this point we know this is Beauty and the Beast, right?
yeah.
It's not in a Disney villain sort of way because there's a
No.
lot of female Disney
Yeah,
villains, but it's oftentimes I think of like Snow White, right, where it's just like, oh, the evil queen is just jealous of Snow White's beauty, right?
yeah,
It's this very gross like kind of anti-feminist sort of like villain. Like this is a like no, she is a piece of shit in a like I don't want to go as far as to say it's feminist, but like she's just as bad as the evil men,
no, yeah,
right?
she's just bad. She's just
Yeah.
bad, and she happens
Yeah.
to be a woman. Like,
Exactly.
that's more of what it is, and it's like, she's just she's just fucking evil, and, and there is an element, unfortunately,
Yeah.
where, you know, one of her biggest things is that she's she loves Tamlin and she wants Tamlin,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
so there is an element of romantic competition, right, that is involved here.
Spoiler, we're reading a romantasy. Like of course there's going to be.
But what I find fascinating is that it's not like she did all of this to get Tamlin.
No.
She clearly wants to take over Prythian.
Yeah.
It's very obvious, right? Like from the stories that we're getting. And I feel like she just got a little big. Like she was like, "You know what? I'm going to like use this to also get my side piece."
Yes.
To also
The
just like I am powerful as fuck and like put it in like a classic big bad king thing. It's the
yes.
exact same thing we would have seen in a story like that of like,
Yes.
"Oh, I'm gonna be this big, bad, awful king. I'm gonna or tyrant, right? And
Yeah.
I'm gonna make sure that I get, like, the sexiest lady on my side because
Right.
I want her." Like, this is it's the same story, we're just gender reversed, you know?
Right. Tam wanting to and getting Tamlin is a symptom of her evilness versus the reason for her
Yeah. Yeah,
evilness.
it's not she's just sort of like, "Hey, while I'm here,
Yeah.
like,
Well,
while I'm this fucking powerful, I might as well just take all that I want." Right?
truly. Well, and this goes right into how Tamlin factors into all this,
Yeah.
right? So we know they've known each other since he was a fucking child. He grew up, she Alice says on page 281, Amarantha eventually grew to desire Tamlin, to lust for him with her entire wicked heart. She attempts to lure him, but Tamlin's too smart for that. He's like, no, I
Mhm.
ain't going to you. So what does he do? He sends his good old friend and emissary, Lucien. And this is how Lucian's eye gets cut out.
Jesus Christ.
I mean, wasn't the smartest thing for him to do, but I can't be mad at him. When he goes to broker peace with Amarantha, because at this point, Tamlin's a high lord. His parents are dead. She says no, and Lucian tells her to, quote, go back to the shithole she'd crawled out of. And I'm like, you know what? Fuck yeah, Lucian.
Jesus.
Like, yeah, like she deserved that.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, she does not, surprise, take too kindly to that. So she carves his eye out and leaves the scar on his face and
Yeah.
sends him back to Tamlin that way. And I mean, it's bad enough where, like, Alice says Tamlin threw up.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I mean,
so
homie
it's,
has a mechanical eye. So, yeah,
yeah,
it had to have been fucking bad. And, you know, as we've also seen, like, Faye can heal. So the fact that Lucian has scars
yeah,
that are still there, that have not been healed, and he
yeah.
had to get a mechanical eye, like, that just, like, I can't even begin to imagine how bad that was.
I think this also explains why in the chapter with the blue fairy,
Yeah.
Lucian gets really triggered. Like, I mean, I think he vomits as well.
Yeah.
He leaves, and, like, I think from a first reader standpoint, it could come off as insensitive, but once you know this, you're like, "Oh, no, he has a really good reason to be triggered by that," because, like, that blue fairy was tortured by Amarantha, or at
Yeah.
least her people, right?
Yeah, and we also learn the chapter after that what had happened to the woman that he loved in front of him by
Oh,
his
that's right.
family. But I
Yeah,
completely agree though, and that I think it's this combination of
yeah,
of it's past trauma. It's a combination of what he saw happen to a woman that he loved while also having actually been violently attacked by the woman that he knows did this to this fairy. So it's like the combination of that has got to just be so fucking brutal.
yeah,
Uh, I have a question. I have a
yes,
very, very big question here.
yeah,
Okay. So it says that Tamlin sends Lucian to try to get some peace, like
yeah.
broker some peace. In this point, when Lucian is sent,
Mhm.
no one's powers have been taken yet, right?
No, I think they have been.
See, now this doesn't make sense. So there's two balls. So there's
I
the
think there's
ball
2
that the
balls.
power gets taken. But
Yeah.
see, okay, this is confusing to me though,
Yeah.
because all the high lords, we learn, right, that since the party of the
Oh,
of see, okay, thank you. So
no, you're right.
because my big question is this one ball where all this shit goes down, or is this
No,
two different balls?
I think you're
Because
right.
we learn in this chapter, right, guys, that all the high lords and everyone have been stuck under the mountains since their powers were taken.
Yes.
So, which then and Tamlin's only allowed to leave because of the curse she puts on him.
Right.
So, but if it is only one ball,
Yeah.
then why is Tamlin sending Lucian to broker peace? Did she
Yeah.
start attacking people? Because Alice makes it sound like they didn't really know Amarantha was bad until she took their powers. So,
Right.
see, okay, thank you. So to me, this is a little confusing because
Yeah.
either Sarah is saying that it's two different balls and people weren't stuck under the mountain until the ball that happens with Tamlin,
Yeah, I think, because
or yeah,
I'm rereading this quote on page 280.
yes,
This is actually very confusing because she says, she brings her army. She knows she can never conquer the 7 high lords by numbers or power alone. But she was also cunning and cruel, and she waited until they absolutely trusted her, meaning they trust her, until they gathered at a ball in her honor, and that night she slipped a potion stolen from the King of Hyberns and the Holy Spellbook into their wine. Once they drank, the High Lords were prone, their magic laid bare, and she stole their powers from where they originated inside of their bodies, plucked them out as if she were taking an apple from its branch, leaving them with only the basis elements of their magic. And then she goes on to talk about how Tamlin had the same thing happen to him. And then for 49 years, she's been biding her time, waiting for the right moment to break the treaty and take your lands. So yeah, that has
And
to be
then
the
and
same
then
ball
under
she's about to
that
talk about.
and then under that she says, "Now they call her the deceiver, she who trapped the 7 high lords and built her palace beneath the sacred mountain in the heart of our land."
So,
So,
here's what I think it is.
yeah.
Tamlin has known since she was a kid, or since he was a kid, that she's bad, right? Because
So
remember,
he never
Tamlin,
trusted her.
he never trusts her because he's talked about this with Feyre. He has never been pro-slavery. And so I think he knew she was bad. She at that point had been trying to woo him, I think on the DL, right? So I think that must be what, like, there must have been like bad blood between them. And I think he sent Lucien to broker peace strictly between them.
Well, I'm realizing as we're talking and after what you just said too of like all this time she's trying to create she's trying to get peace with everybody, right?
Right.
She's working with all the different high lords. So
Right.
what it could be exactly what you're saying of like she still needed to get Tamlin, right?
Yes.
She
Yes.
still needed a trade. She still needed whatever. And when Lucien went in Tamlin's place, she probably was like, "No, I'm not going to um like she refused
Yeah.
probably because she just wanted Tamlin there,
Yes.
right? And then she hosts the ball and that's why Tamlin finally comes.
Yes.
So it all did happen at one
I think so. It
ball.
had to have. It had to have because of the 49 years. The 7, so this is where we get into the 7x7 curse, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So Alice goes on. I think it's just Alice kind of did this weird thing of like splitting the details up into
Yeah.
two parts, which is
Yeah.
what makes it a little confusing. But
Yeah.
I see, yeah, I got confused for a second too of like, wait, is it one or is it two? But
Just
I think
because
it's
it is a
one.
little because I also even think the thing that we just kind of made work, there is a little
Yeah.
element there where I'm like, well, why did she refuse peace when she wanted peace with everybody?
Right.
It's a little this is probably the first gripe I've had with Sarah of
Yeah.
like, I wish this was slightly more clear just because this entire time I've always assumed that it all happened at one ball.
Right.
The High Lords losing their powers and then this curse that we're finally about to get into.
Right. And mind you, just new readers to the mass first, like, and I say this with all the love in my heart for Mama Mass. Every series has at least one, if not multiple, info dumps, and they are always very dense.
Yeah.
And it can get a little confusing. So
Yeah.
you might have moments like this where it's
Yeah.
like, wait, what? Like, this was said here, but now it's said here. So, but I think it is uh one time where one ball
Yeah.
where everything happens.
Yeah.
So yeah, Lucian sent back. And oh, real quick before we get into it, I think that Tamlin probably, I think the implication is Tamlin kind of called her bluff
Yeah.
on these peace talks, right? Like
Yeah.
that's why he sent, or part of the reason why he sends Lucian, right? Also, like, can't really blame him because like she's been trying to like bed him
Yeah.
for God knows how long.
Yeah.
Like, and he knows she's evil. So yeah, it makes sense. But she sends him back with his eye carved out. And then she says, I think this is as almost like an all, or it's supposed to come off as like an olive branch sort of thing. She decides to host this masquerade under the mountain, right?
Mhm.
And she invites all the courts, specifically the high lords and their like nobility. She also invites the entire spring court,
Yeah.
even their servants, right? And she tells everyone to wear these masks to honor Tamlin's shape-shifting powers, right? And because
And
he wants,
also to like so Lucian can hide
yes,
his it again, it's supposed to be this olive branch of like, oh
yes,
yes, like he doesn't even he can pretend nothing has happened to him, whatever, because it's supposed to be an
exactly,
apology. Yeah.
exactly. And Alice says, Tamlin was willing to try to end the conflict without slaughter, so he agreed to go to bring all of us. So that is why Alice and all the servants are there. So then they all assemble. Uh, and Amarantha says, quote, she claimed that peace could be had if Tamlin joined her as her lover and consort. But when she tried to touch him, he refused to let her near. Not alter what she done, not alter what she'd done to Lucien. He said in front of everyone that night that he would sooner take a human to his bed, sooner marry a human than ever touch her. She might have let it go had he not then said that her own sister had preferred a human's company to hers, that her own sister had chosen Jurian over her. And that's on page 282. So that is the key part to this curse, because this is basically why she curses him. She tells him that he had 7 times 7 years before she claimed him, before he had to join her under the mountain. If he wanted to break the curse, he need only find a human girl willing to marry him, but not any human, or not any girl, a human with ice in her heart, with hatred for our kind, a human girl willing to kill a fairy. Worse, the fairy she killed had to be one of his men sent across the wall by him like lambs to the slaughter. The girl could only be brought here to be courted if she killed one of his men in an unprovoked attack, killed him for hatred alone, as Jurian had done to Clythia, so he could understand her sister's pain. And that's on page 282 as well. So that is the whole basis for this curse. It's kind of a, maybe not convoluted curse, but it's a very specific
It's
curse.
wildly specific, but, it's convoluted because it's painfully well thought out, I think, by
Yes.
Amarantha, in that there's so many elements here that make it next to impossible for him to break.
Yeah.
Because, like, Alice even talks about how, like, this it was like she said, it was all a cruel joke, a clever punishment. Like, you humans loathe and fear fairies so much, it would be impossible for the same girl who slaughtered a fairy in cold blood to then fall in love with one. And to make the masks then permanent on their faces
Yeah.
makes it even harder, because they talk about how shallow humans are.
Yeah.
And so like, that it's gonna be harder to fall in love with a face that you can barely see.
Which, real quick note, I think is so funny because even with the masks, like, the Fae are still hot.
They're still
Like,
super pretty, so I just think it's,
yeah.
like, really hilarious. Um, but it's just it's convoluted, but it's, like, wildly clever,
Yeah.
because it really puts Tamlin in this position. There's so it puts Tamlin in this position of, like, pure torture, because first of all, 7 times 7, so 49 years, okay?
Yes.
Another long game.
Yeah.
Also, his court is allowed to leave under the mountain, but no one else is allowed to leave under the mountain.
No. Which
So,
explains so much about, like,
which
why, this, like, that summer court fairy, like, came over, and why the High Lord of the Summer Court didn't do anything because he's not there.
Right, and why, like, anytime they were talking about the borders and all of this stuff, like, that's why nothing's going on, because
Yeah.
literally all of the high lords, I mean, okay, I guess we kinda talked about this. I think it's the high lords and some of the nobility of each court is under the mountain. I don't think every
Yes.
single fairy is under the mountain right
No.
now.
No, no, no.
Yeah, I
Just the
think
courts.
it's just the, like, the nobility of all of these areas. So that's
Yes.
why nothing's really being it's kinda like the Wild West, like, right now. Like, there's not
Well,
much. Tamlin's, like, the only high lord out. So but that's another level
well,
of torture.
well,
Well
except for one, because
well
Rhysand is the High Lord of the Night Court, and we know he's allowed to leave.
because Alice tells us
Yeah.
that anyone that has kind of like, on her team, Amarantha,
Yes.
anyone who's, like, on Amarantha's team or on her side or whatever, she'll give certain privileges to, and she'll let them leave the mountain.
Yes.
But still, that's another element of kind of torture for Tamlin. He inevitably has friends under the mountain. And
Yeah.
so guilt upon guilt, and then another layer of guilt. Oh, you have to send one of your guys to die. Cool.
Oh my
And then
god.
another layer of guilt, because Alice even talks about how Tamlin is very aware that no matter what girl falls in love with him, that it's like another form of slavery
Yeah.
because he has to kind of convince her to love him. And that no
Yes.
matter if that happens or not, he knows Amarantha is going to try to kill this girl. So
Yeah.
it's just like he just, this curse is just guilt upon guilt upon guilt upon self-hatred upon self-hatred. Like, it is putting Tamlin in this horrific spot of
Yeah.
like, so basically you just have 49 years of torturing yourself before she pulls you under the mountain to torture you some more. Like,
Right. Oh, and to add the cherry on top of this shit Sunday, he has to lie because the curse makes it so they can't him and his court
can't say
cannot talk
anything.
about the curse. And I mean, Feyre even brings up like, so wait, what about the life for a life situation in the treaty? And Alice goes,
Oh,
there is no part of that treaty.
yeah.
That's a lie. Like
Yeah.
we had to tell you that. And that the blight, all of it, those are the closest ways they could get to not only telling Feyre about the curse, but convincing her basically to fall in love with Tamlin so that the curse could be broken.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's fucked.
It's so fucked. And it's like, I think one of the things that I weirdly appreciate though is how Alice kind of talks about how like Tamlin was very aware of how fucked up this was going to be for the woman
Yes.
that is put in this position, right?
Yes.
Like, literally says like he thought that if the human girl loved true, then bringing her here to free him was another form of slavery. And he thought that if he did indeed fall in love with her, Amarantha would do everything she could to destroy her, as her sister had been destroyed. So he spent decades refusing to do it.
Yeah.
And those decades are after when he first returned to the Spring Court, he sent a dude out, what, like every
Daily?
day? Yeah. Tamlin
Yeah.
sent one of his men across the wall every day. If they came back, it was with stories of human girls who ran and screamed and begged. When they didn't come back, Tamlin's bond with them as their lord and master told him they'd been killed by others. So he was bonded to every one of these fuckers who was dying, which
Yep.
means they came back, cool, great. If they didn't, he felt it and knew. Like that,
Yep.
this
Oh,
is diabolical.
and that's just what's going on with Tamlin in the Spring Court.
I know.
Outside of that, so Alice talks about how 40 years ago, so only a little bit into the curse, the High Lords of the Day, Summer, and Winter Court tried to rebel against
Yeah.
Amarantha. And in return, she executed most of their families. So, like, that's fucked. And then there's this whole stipulation that's part of the curse where basically the high lords can't really call for aid from one another. So they find this really, I think, clever but unfortunate loophole where they
Yeah.
use the children of the blessed.
Yeah.
That's I think it's implied that's kind of why the children of the blessed kind of exist almost is they use humans who become the children of the blessed to communicate
Yeah.
to the other courts.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, a lot of them don't come back.
Yeah.
So it is a hot mess doesn't even begin to describe what's been going on in Prythian for the last 49
Well, and
years.
not to mention, we have no idea what's happening to all those fairy under the mountain. I mean, besides like, yeah, this big story of day, summer, winter of them all being, executed and killed. And like, it's just, we know Amarantha loves torture. We know, like, I mean, even just the little things that, like, the headless, the head appearing in the garden
Oh,
from Resand. Like, it's like this is, and that's the stuff that's happening outside the mountain. So it's like, what the
yeah.
fuck's going on under? And honestly, this all makes so much sense as to why
Oh,
Tamlin's been this brooding motherfucker. It
yep.
makes sense why Lucien is just getting drunk all the time. Like it all of the overall like vibes that she's been getting while she's been there. It
Yeah.
makes so much sense. And it also makes sense as to why, like Alice said about how the solstice used to be celebrated at the summer court.
Yep.
That's why it's not happening there anymore.
Yep.
or just like all of these little things, or why their world seems so small, right?
Yeah.
Why there hasn't been a lot of experiencing the rest of Prythian, because it
Right.
cannot be bigger, because it is not safe. I mean, this is also very beautiful, I think, because we eventually towards the end of the chapter get to this place of like realizing that the 49 years Tamlin sent Feyre away 3 days before the time was up.
Yep.
And I honestly think it was because he knew that loving her, and if she truly said, "I love you," it was a death sentence for Feyre. He knew
Absolutely.
Amarantha was gonna come for her.
Yep.
And so it's so painful because on one end, like, this kind of feels like the railroad,
Oh, the trolley,
the
predicament.
trolley predicament that you talked about many, 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 many
Yeah.
episodes ago.
Yeah.
'Cause it's so painful, because
Yeah.
on one end, Feyre is our baby girl. We want
Yeah.
Feyre to survive. We don't want
Of
her to
course.
die, right?
Yeah.
But on the other end, there is, I mean,
So many lives
what do
at
we wanna
stake.
say? Hundreds? Like, how many Fae do we think are under
Oh,
the mountain?
I'm gonna guess at least 100 plus.
At least 100 plus under the mountain for
Yeah.
49 years, which they're Fae, so it probably felt a little faster, but, I mean,
Sure.
not if they're being tortured every day. We don't know what the fuck's going
Right.
on under there. So
Right.
while we want baby girl to survive, it's also like, but by doing that, he has basically condemned himself and the rest of these fairies
Yeah.
to continue whatever the fuck has been going on under there.
Right.
And
It's bad. And
it's
well,
so bad.
it's and this kind of leads into something I wanted to talk about. This is a lot, I think, for us as readers to take in.
Yeah.
So, like,
Oh
you
my
can
god,
only
Feyre.
imagine poor Feyre
Dude,
who's there.
I feel like throughout it, there's little things of her being
Yeah.
like, she's like looking for a chair. Like she's like holding onto the wall. She almost throws up at a certain point.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um And then I think she says that she finally, like, sits down at some point because, like, yeah, exactly, like, I cannot imagine. I can't also, Alice is, like, packing a bag.
Yeah.
She's, like,
Alice,
gathering food during
which we
this
don't even know where
entire
she's
exactly,
going.
during this entire story. And
Yeah.
it's just, like, this is not, yeah, I cannot
Well,
imagine how this is for Feyre, like, how this whole, because also remember this is she is being told these things about the male that she loves.
yep.
So there's probably a note of jealousy in there somewhere. There's probably a note of like almost frustration with him, but then also
Yeah.
realizing that he couldn't have told her anything. And
Right.
then also the pain of like when you think about, I know for me when I think about people I love, it's experiencing severe sadness and pain. It
Yeah.
like it like physically hurts, right? Like
Yes.
it's so she's having to, so Farrah is having to think about Tamlin being in this torturous state for 49 years. She's got to process that in like 10 minutes. Like,
Oh, yeah. And this look, full disclosure, I love Alice, right? Like she
yeah,
is one of my favorite minor characters, but I have a
but
very big bone to pick with her in this
bro,
chapter because and she says something along these lines in multiple spots. But the quote that really got me was on page 286 where she says after she's told this whole spiel to Farah, you could have broken it. All you had to do was say that you loved him. Say that you loved him and meant it with your whole useless human heart, and his power would have been freed. You stupid, stupid girl. To which I say, Alice, how the fuck was she supposed to know? And like, my thing is like, to kind of devil's advocate, right? Like, I think Alice is valid in her feelings for feeling angry and upset that the situation is happening, right?
yes,
Of course.
of course.
But we also
But
have to remember there was no, I mean, she herself says, like, we couldn't tell you. Like, we could not tell you what was going on. So there's no way Farah could have known. And also, I think that, like, and it doesn't really get discussed in this chapter, and it's kind of a miracle Farah doesn't even think about this. Farah was a tool.
yeah,
Like, she was being used, right?
yeah,
And like that doesn't negate Tamlin's love for her at all.
no,
Tamlin definitely loves her, but she was like her purpose in being here was to break this curse, right? So to call her a stupid girl,
Dude,
I'm like,
I
Alice.
so many moments in my notes, I literally was like, "Alice, fuck off." Like, cause I
Yeah.
love Alice too. Like, I
Yeah.
I I fucking love her. But it's so frustrating because I was looking for it because there's literally, like, one chapter scenario or not chapter, there's, like, one paragraph where, like, within the same paragraph, Alice is literally like, "Fuck you." And Fair is like, "I didn't know." And Alice like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, you couldn't have known." And so you're kinda like, "Bitch, what the fuck?" Like, yes, I get anger, frustration, obviously, but, like, to then because she does it to Farah multiple times in this chapter of, like,
Multiple.
berating her basically for, like, not
Yeah.
figuring this out, and I was just like, it
For something
how
that isn't her fault, that she was baited into. Because, like, there's a part where Alice is like, you have like a heart of like ice or whatever. Like you had hatred in your heart. Because that's the
Yes,
whole
yes,
curse, right?
yes,
She has to
yeah,
have hatred in her heart.
yeah,
Well, I'm sorry. When you're a human whose ancestors were enslaved by Fae, who sees a Fae disguised as a wolf, so she's not even 100% sure if it's Fae, right? Who's been taught that Fae are deadly this whole time, and who is supposed to kill that Fae. I'm sorry, what the fuck else is she
and
supposed to
who
do?
is actually to break the curse, she's supposed to have hatred in her heart when she kills him.
Yes,
Like, that's
she's
part
in
of
a
it's
it's a lose-lose situation because if she didn't kill Andres, then the curse would be nowhere near being broken,
right,
right? But then if she did, well,
yeah,
fuck you because you
yeah.
have hatred in your heart. Like what do you expect from this human
Well, and
girl?
I think I do think there is a level of I think Alice does have a certain awareness of this. Like, I think there is
Yes.
a particular level of where she kind of like I almost feel like sometimes when she starts berating Farah a little bit, there's an element where it's almost not directed at her. It's almost
Yeah.
just like that's the only place Alice can put this frustration out right now. Like she
Yeah.
can't because if she really, really wants to be this mad, she should be mad at Tamlin for sending her away. Like, like I don't know, but
Yeah.
um, but yeah, no, like the whole like tool thing. I think that's also like why Alice even brings up like that Tamlin was aware of that this is such
Yeah.
a sticky, like I just think it's so important. This, I already read the quote, but just like him talking about this other form of slavery. I think it's really
Yeah.
important that Alice tells us this, or that Sarah has Alice tell us this, because
Yes.
it really makes us realize that like Tamlin was really stuck between a rock and a hard place. And there was no good way to deal with like to deal with all of this. But yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah.
I think that we can give Alice a lot of excuses, but
Yes.
also like, bitch, come on. Also,
Yeah.
remember, this is a human girl. Like your guys' ways of doing things and shit. She's not from like curses and
No.
and and creatures and I'm sorry, this woman created a castle under a mountain? Like, what? Like, there's so much a part of this that is like literally the fact that Farah doesn't just pass out after this conversation is like beyond me.
I
Because
mean,
even me rereading this chapter, I literally had to like, okay,
yeah.
what? Like
Yeah.
trying to write notes for this chapter was just like insane
Kind of
because it's
impossible.
just this is so much to take in. And there's a level of it that I think is partially like purposeful because I think
Yeah.
that Sarah does this to us because I think it really sets us up for like at the end of this chapter, when Farah decides to go, what are you thinking as a reader? Fuck yeah, girl.
Oh,
Go.
I
Go
I
go
was
get
gonna
your man.
say,
Go.
yeah,
Like, yes,
despite
go do
despite
it.
being overloaded, right? Like all cylinders fucking going off. Like there's so much to process about the history of Prythian, about Tamlin's role in the history of Prythian, about how she plays into this.
Yeah.
And yet, she still has the clarity to ask Alice, "Hey, so like when Amarantha took all their powers, all the High Lord's powers, does that mean she can use them?" And Alice says, not really. Like, it doesn't seem like it. She tricked the High Lords through cunning, not force. Then Feyre, the smart broad of ours, goes, okay, cool. That means in theory, the High Lords, were they to get their powers back, or even maybe not, right? Just with the powers that they have, maybe they can overpower her. And guess what I'm going to fucking do? I'm going to go to that
Yeah.
mountain and I'm
Yeah.
going to go save my man.
I know. And even before that, she starts asking about who has rebelled against Amarantha.
Yeah.
Because bitch is already trying to think about allies.
She's coming up with war plans.
She's coming up with a war plan. Like, are you kidding? Like, yeah, like
Oh, but she's
I
a stupid girl,
but she's a
according to
stupid
Alice.
girl. Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
fuck off.
Like the fact that she asks and then she even asks like, you know, what about the King of Hybern? Like, are they
Yeah.
allies? Are they like baby girl is like creating I can't. Like, she's literally like open rebellion. Like, what courts? Are you joking? Like, I
Yeah.
just can't. Like, she is all and this I wrote this in my notes of just like this is the Feyre we have seen multiple times. When crisis starts happening, she's planning. Girl is fucking planning. And like she's not there's no way that she has processed everything that she has just been told.
No.
All I feel like she is grabbing onto is a shit ton of beings are in danger.
Yep.
Her man is in danger. And there's potentially something she could do about it.
Yes. We will see this throughout the series. And it's a good and a bad thing, I think.
Yeah.
Feyre thrives when she is in survival mode.
Yeah.
That is her and her element. And it is great for her survival as well as the survival of others. On a mental health level, not the best.
Not the best.
No. And thank God she
Not-
has her painting because
Yeah.
she really needs it.
Yeah.
But man, is she a gal who, when the going gets tough, do you want her on your side?
It's really quite insane because
Yeah.
I feel like there's a shift, right? There's a shift in this chapter where when Feyre she starts asking all these questions and she
Yeah.
kind of starts like doing all this stuff and you're just like, what? Like it is wildly impressive. And even at the very end of the chapter, because Alice is like, no, you can't go, right? And she's like, fuck you, I'm going. And she thinks, if Amarantha ripped out my throat, at least I would die doing something for him. At least I would die trying to fix the destruction I hadn't prevented, trying to save the people I'd doomed. At least Tamlin would know it was for him and that I loved him.
I mean,
fuck.
Yeah. Like, and again, I understand, I have empathy, obviously, for Alice, right? But Feyre, human Feyre.
Yeah.
Getting all this information dumped on her and thinking up plans to do all this. To Alice, I say, Alice, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, you're literally Fae. I know you're a lesser fairy, you're not high Fae, but like, here's this human girl, 19 years old.
Yeah.
Going off to step up to the Queen of Prythian.
Yeah. Well,
Not that Alice should be expected to.
No,
but
because I was just to say that I feel like at this point, I don't feel like anyone but Feyre could do anything. Although it is interesting because, Alice does say, like, the fact that I can tell you all of this clearly means that Amarantha thinks the game's over.
Right.
So my question is, does this mean that if Feyre were to like run under the mountain, see Tamlin alive and scream I love you to him, are we past it now? Could that do anything? So
Alice does say the 49 years is up because her people, Amarantha's people, literally come the moment
it's over.
Those 49 years is up. Okay. So that's the big question we're left hanging with is like, Feyre's gonna go brawl with Amarantha, but it's not gonna do anything. Like,
it's also like,
I know.
There's so much stacked up against Feyre here. Like,
The
she's a
odds have never
human,
been
then
yeah.
less in her favor. Like, it is
Oh
like
my god. I truly remember getting to this point in the book and I'm like, I don't know how she's gonna make it out. Like,
and you're like, "This is book 1."
this is book 1 of
Like,
5.
so, like, do we follow someone else in the next book? You know, like, it's just I mean, I remember when I first read this and, the chapter ends, right, with
Yeah.
Alice saying, "As you wish," like, she's gonna take her to the mountain. Kind of had this moment of like, "Let's fucking
Oh,
go!"
of course.
It feels very like Helm's Deep, like, we're
Oh,
about to fucking battle the Uruk-hai, like,
I
it's
mean,
about to get fucking real up in
it's
here.
it's giving, Violet soaring gale on that fucking parapet day 1 at Guy. It's like, how the fuck is this brittle bone gal gonna become a dragon rider,
Oh,
right?
yeah,
And
it's yeah. Yeah, it's
like,
giving Harry Potter trying to get the Sorcerer's Stone. It's
yeah,
giving you're right, like, we are just actually, no, I feel like it's giving more like you're about to go try to defeat Voldemort is actually
yeah,
more what it's giving. But
a
yeah,
child.
yeah, it's just I know we're like almost done here, but it's
Yeah,
interesting too of like Alice talks about the Night Court a little bit
yeah.
here too of how for 49 years Amarantha has held these lands in her grip. Worse, after the High Lords fell, all the wicked ones in our lands, the ones too awful, even for the Night Court, flock to her. They still do. She's offered them sanctuary, but we know she's building her army, biding her time. So that's like a weird side thing, but I think it's just interesting of just like to remember of like, first of all, that really wicked creatures used to be in the Night Court, and
Yeah,
that there are some that the Night Court don't even want,
yeah.
and that they have flocked to her. That's why things like the adder, the bog, all these kinds of things have kind of been appearing more. Um, Also then kind of makes sense as to why it seems like Rhysand could be her right hand man as
Mhm.
well. Sorry, I just saw it in my periph and I just was
Yeah.
like, because the adder, fuck.
No, I mean, that is everything you said is very important to remember, honestly, and I'm glad you brought it up because we are now on our way to Under the Mountain with Feyre, which is fucking wild.
Stressful.
Very stressful. So next week we're gonna get a little bit of that.
Yep.
We're gonna cover chapters 33 through 34. A bit of a light reading, but there's some stuff that we're gonna have to really process, I think, in those chapters, which is why we're making it light. So that is your homework. If you want to do some extra credit, you can follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and Blue Sky at Cauldron Save Us Pod. You can also rate, review, and subscribe to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. And then if you want to come and say hi, if you want to freak out with us, you can email us at cauldronsaveus@gmail.com because there will be many moments, I think, where we're all going to be screaming at our books going, what the fuck? So if you just need to scream at something, you don't want to be
Yep.
alone.
Yep.
Pop into one of those, say hi.
Yeah. I mean, we literally have like 120 some odd pages left in this book.
Like we said, the last 200 of really almost any romantasy, but especially the
Especially,
mass verse.
yeah, they're buck wild. Yeah.
Yeah. So get your cowboy hat on because you're gonna be getting bucked off that
Exactly.
horse.
Just get ready.
Hang on.
I know. Well, it's exciting. I'm glad we're here.
Oh, finally.
You guys are in for a treat. It's really good.
It's an exciting and thrilling place to be,
It's it's
honestly.
it's really good. But, this our goodbye quote feels more I feel like you guys are
Apt.
slowly learning now why we say this every time, but this feels really correct right now. As always,
You're welcome.
and we're sorry. Bye.